right. Okay. Hopefully I got everything right this time. Yeah, I hope I got it right. I hope I did. All right. Well, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world today. Thank you for joining us this evening for our fifth day of Wealth Recession Proof, getting in good financial shape. This week, we're talking about emotional wellness, and how we can become better in our lives. And yesterday evening, I shared a little bit with you about, just how getting started and how, I had to take control of my emotions and learn how to navigate through life. When life changes came up, I shared with you about being a young mother, going through divorce, caring for my parents that were growing elderly and became sick. Talked about some family discord during that process, and also sharing how through that process I was still a parent of teenagers at that time. At that time, they were teenagers. So young adults. We don't want to call them. They were young adults because they were transitioning to graduating out of high school. And there were challenges during that process as a parent. And as I was thinking about coming to you guys tonight, I was thinking about some of the challenges that we face as parents. We have these children, and then if we are not careful about selecting the partner that we decide to have children with, there's also challenges there as well. And you have to be able to control yourself and handle yourself in a proper manner, or at least do the best that you can, because the children are watching. They see everything you do, whether they see it in front of them or they hear you talking about it. So it's important to be mindful of what you say when children are around, because they're listening and they're looking when you think they're not. And I learned that through the process. And I also share with you how taking care of my parents, taking care of the children, and some of the things that come along, some of the things that can cause financial hardship when you are raising children. It's all different kind of things that can come up. If you happen to start out parenting with the other parent, and then at some point you guys decide that parenting together or staying together is not a good idea, and you have to parent separately, you have to do that with a mutual respect. You have to do that with some type of respect and decency, hopefully, given the situation, because some situations you just have to sever ties, but you never sever ties with your children, no matter what is going on, because those little people are going to be a part of your life for a very long time. And they're watching us and they're observing, they're learning how to be who they are from watching the adults around them. And we talked about that yesterday. We also talked about how if you have children, and say they're like adolescent age, where middle school, high school, that's about the age where they start to experiment and want to cut school, hang out with their friends, do different things that you may not be aware of. And one thing during the process of raising my children when they were adolescents is that I found out that their, what is it called? Their image that they project, whoever they are, when they're with their peers in school, away from you, that's who they are. And when you step into their environment, they're not going to change because you're there. They're going to continue to be hold up that image that they have. And sometimes that's good and that's bad, because it depends on what they actually get into. And we know children are curious by nature. And as adults, sometimes we tend to forget that we had that curiosity as children. And with curiosity, they take risk. They are not afraid to test their boundaries. They're not afraid to see just exactly how far they can go. And that's the resilience of being young. You kind of have fear, but you don't have the fear. You're not afraid to try new things. And that's something that we forget as adults as we go along. My point is that there's hardships that can come along with that. We talked about the $1,000 fine for your children not going to school and doing what they're supposed to be doing. If they're hanging out at your house or hanging out at a friend's house without adult supervision and adult permission, and something should happen, or it gets reported by a neighbor or something that the children are hanging out in the house like children normally do from time to time, and it ends up in court, parents are fined for that. So that's one way that you can, that's an unexpected financial hardship cost, because no one wants to pay the courts for a kid that should be doing what we expect them to do, right? Go to school and do the right thing. Or should a child get into a little trouble and end up in juvenile, in the juvenile justice system, that too will cause you financial hardship and will put a little dent in your budget. And I believe I shared that with you guys yesterday, how I ended up paying child support for a kid that I didn't even get child support for. That was a really, really hard struggle to go through. But I learned valuable lessons through all of that. Not only myself, but I think our family as a whole learned a valuable lesson. We definitely learned how one person's actions can impact the whole family. And although we managed through it and we got through it, you don't come through it without scars. You don't come through it without having to pick up the pieces and put it all back together to have it kind of balance out. And depending on the nature and what it all is, I found all this stuff out just from having a curious child, having a child that, took risk, wasn't afraid to go out and try something else different. I shared a story yesterday on how he and I had differences sometimes when it came to certain things that they wanted. Being a parent and doing it on your own, it's a little different than when you have a partner and you have someone that's helping you. And even as a single parent, you can have someone helping you, but is that help consistent? Is it long-term or is it short-term? It's help that can you really depend on it as security? Or is it something that just comes through? So those are all things that you have to think about, because as you're raising the children, children cost, and they don't come with instructions. As parents, we can come together and we can share the different parenting skills that we have, or different techniques, different things that we have tried with our children to get them in line, keep them within the structure frame that keeps them safe, free from harm, and guides them on the right path. And through that process, I suffered a lot of hardship. On top of still, all this is going on while I was blessed to finish college, thank God. I had finished college, but I was still working on me, still building me, still trying to identify what it is that I wanted out of life. And because I'm looking at the fact that the children are getting older, which led, I knew empty nest syndrome was coming. But over the years of, being a caregiver, being a young mother, and having to, hustle to do what you got to do. You got to make it happen. You don't have a moment to cry. You don't have a moment to chase this one down and argue about that, because your attention should be on your children. And as a single mom, it's difficult, but it can be done. I found joy in caring for my children, even in the hardest of times. Some kind of way, they would always find a way to make me laugh at something. And I had to put my thing down. I couldn't waver, and that goes into the emotional well-being, because if you send children mixed signals, they don't quite get the message. So you have to be stern. Not so much where you need to discipline them, but discipline them because sometimes they need it. Children need it. We all need it. But when you're raising them, the rules have to be the rules. You cannot change the rules. You can't say yay today and then no tomorrow. Oh, you could hang out this time and then switch it back. That way, that's funny, because that did happen one time. Just briefly to get off track, I had provided them a curfew. I gave the curfew. I raised their curfew to, I think it was 9 o'clock. But then I realized I was not thinking about what they need, because children advocate very freely on their own. They exercise their right to express themselves, tell you what's on their mind, tell you what they want, how they want it, and when they want it. So in the process, I had raised the curfew to 9 o'clock. And then when I realized, because I was working 11 to 7 at that time, I realized that I needed to be asleep a little bit earlier before then. And I didn't want to fall asleep while they were outside of the house. To me, it was more better for them to be in the home while I was resting to go out to work than it was to have them out and about in the streets while I was sleeping. Long story short, one day, I wanted my son to come in at 8:30. My daughter, she was more like a homebody, like her mom. But this one, he was just an explorer. He just wants to go everywhere. So, like I always do, never thinking about it, I go to the back window, I raise it up, and I call his name. I called his name a couple times. He didn't answer. So then I got worried. So then I got out and I walked around the neighborhood, couldn't find him. So then I really started getting worried. Waited a little bit, and slowly but surely he came back in. And we had a nice discussion, and I let him know that, the 9 o'clock curfew wasn't going to work for me. We need to go take it back to 8 o'clock. And he was livid. How do you reverse it back, this, that, and the other? And I explained to him, although that did not satisfy his soul. But nonetheless, the curfew got changed back. And I realized at that point that all that I was doing and all my efforts to go out here and work hard, do whatever, I failed to take care of me in the room. And that happens. And when that happens, you suffer from what? Burnout. You suffer from burnout. So now you're tired, you can't go to work, or your back hurts or something, whatever. Something happens, and you just feel the wear and tear on your body, and your body will shut down. It's very important to listen to your body and make sure that you are doing the things that you need to do. All the years of suffering, hardship, finagling dollars to make them stretch. When you have more months than you have dollars, you figure it out. You get creative. And in that process, I learned how to grin and bear it. You do more with less, so to speak. And that also, as time went on and I kept learning about myself, kept seeking better for myself along the journey, in the classrooms, in the groups that I was blessed to be a part of. I realized that scarcity mindset of always knowing that at the end of the month, you're going to be short on something. You're not going to be able to do something, or you have to decide, are you going to buy groceries, or are you going to buy clothes for the kids, or you're going to sacrifice a bill to do something else in the household. It takes a toll on you, and it plays on your it plays on your mind, and it plays a part of your thinking. And that's why this morning we were discussing what matters is your life and your future, because that is serious business, your life and your future. And sometimes we talked about life experiences and how they come and they impede on your life. So taking that scarcity mindset, and probably could have benefited a little bit more from budgeting courses to help budget, because I believe when we all started out, before I started coming to you all, when I started coming, I would talk about how the only thing I knew about a budget was that I rebudget every month. Like, you just rebudget the budget, figure everything out. Okay, well, now what we got to do, and then something else. So you got to do that. And then you have to plan for it. You try to plan for the unexpected, but sometimes the unexpected comes up and then you put money there. So now you don't have money to go somewhere else, right? So that's why I really do love the whole budgeting tool with the services, because it helps me keep everything all on track. I can put my eyes on it. I know what's going where, and it's become a little bit easier. But budgeting is something that takes practice. So if you think you're gonna get it overnight, maybe some do. I'm a slow learner, so it takes me time to work out everything and get it all together. But in the process, I felt to plan for me. I felt to plan for what I wanted and where I wanted to go in life. And that takes a toll on you too. So if my life is serious business, I have to make sure that my mind, body, and soul is in alignment, that I get what I need, and rightfully so, and continue moving on with that. And how do we do it? We talked about imagination being the beginning of creation. And I shared with you this morning from Think and Grow Rich how they talked about all plans stem from your imagination. And your imagination, you have the ability to decide whether you imagine the worst or do you imagine the best. And that's why I started off with talking about being a parent, raising children, because there's certain fears that you have as a parent. Well, I know there were certain fears that I had from the time that I gave birth to my son. First of all, I knew he was a young Black male. He was being raised by a single woman, no consistent male figure in the home. There was male figures, but anyway, I don't know how to explain that part. Everybody knows. We know what goes on when you're raising kids and the relationship doesn't work. You start new relationships, and sometimes those relationships don't work. And now I understand why those relationships didn't work, because I really didn't understand myself. So I knew I couldn't understand someone else, let alone trying to parent and handle bills all together. So there was a lot of learning that took place, learning how to delegate and share responsibilities within the home. But now that I've gotten older, I realize, and I just come to the conclusion that, listen, those that are going to do the right thing are going to do the right thing. If you're not going to do the right thing, you ain't going to do the right thing. It don't matter whether you're there or not. So I just learned how to make it happen, Captain, because that's what real ones do. You make it happen. You don't have time to, play games or hunt people down. So you're the responsible one. And it was a lot of things that fears. There was a lot of fears. We talked about fear, doubt, failure, rejection, loss, and uncertainty this morning. And there was a lot of fear that he would get caught up in the wrong environment, the wrong peer group. And I believe at that time, with high school, by that time, I had had all the training and substance abuse training, the gang trainings, different things that go along that leads down a path of juvenile justice, which is really surprises me why I know why I'm not in that field, because I didn't like the whole idea of going to the bars closing behind me every day, going to work and not being able to have that contact if something went on with my children, because you're on lockdown when you're in there. But those were my fears. So I guess those fears played a part in how I parented, how I conducted myself, how, what things did I do to kind of make things better, to try and make it better. One, you educate your children. I educated them as much as I could from everything, drugs, alcohol, the incarceration system, because they were at risk for all of those things. They were at risk for incarceration. They were at risk for drug use and abuse. They were at risk for falling prey to society and not being on the other side. But God blessed us. He allowed us to get through those years, not without scars, not without challenges, and not without stories, because I got some stories. But I learned a lot. They learned a lot. They didn't really like the fact that I would label them at-risk children. And I had to explain to them why I would always tell them, you're at risk, because it takes two people to make a baby. And they saw me, they didn't see the other side. So you have to explain why the person's missing. And if it's incarceration, if it's drug use, substance abuse, you have to explain that to the children, because they want to understand. We as adults need to understand that no matter what we're going through, our children still seek us. Our children still want to be a part of us. So we have to make a definite decision. That's what it's called, right? A definite decision. And I wrote a little thing down here from The Laws of Success from Napoleon Hill, just a small quote that says, until a man selects his definite purpose, he settles. What is that? All right, I can't even read my own writing, y'all. Ain't that terrible? Until a man selects his definite purpose, he centers his energy and thoughts. This leads not to power, but to indecision and weakness. And I always taught them to think. They had to think, because they were raised by one parent. So I guess you could say they were a little parentified, because they had responsibility early. They had to learn how to come home from school. They were latchkey children, so they had to come home from school, nobody in, nobody out. So that's a big responsibility there. Then because I was working and going to school, I had to trust that what I taught them as far as cooking, that they were going to be able to prepare themselves a meal until I got home to do it. And thank you, Jesus, for covering us, and they obeyed, and everything worked out. But it taught them how to think for themselves. Taught them to think about who they are, what they want out of life, and where do they want to go. And we all navigate, no matter how old you are, young or old. Some of us are still navigating, trying to figure out who we are, what we want, where we want to be. And what are some of the things that we can do to ensure that we are putting ourselves in alignment to make sure that our mental health and our emotional wellness is intact, even though we have been through some experiences that may have taken some things away, may have left deep scars, and you learn to forgive. You have to learn to forgive for the past things, because if you don't forgive, that eats you up as an individual. It eats at you. And you don't want it eating at you. You want to work, look deep down inside and do the work that it takes. If it's journaling, do it. You know what I mean? If it's going and talking to a therapist, a psychiatrist, do that. You can't say it doesn't work until you try it. But one thing about therapy is, I'll tell you, is it only works if you work it. Because that therapist, that counselor, that talk therapist, whatever the person is, they're a blank canvas, and they're only going to give you back what you give them. You're going to paint the picture, and they're going to show you the picture, and then probably point out some things where you probably could have did things differently, or maybe give you some steps to move past that, and practice that in your life so that you have developed good habits, right? And what are some of the good mental health habits that we can practice, right? Do you want to know? Yeah, I see that one. Okay, some of the good mental health goals that you can practice to ensure that you're taking care of your well-being. You could practice on your self-love and compassion to your own self, being gentle and having grace with you. You can take care of and be kind to your own body, making sure that you're eating right, getting the proper rest, eating the right foods, exercising. All those things are good for your body. Make time for mindfulness. You need some time, some downtime, so that you can kind of relax, meditate, whatever it is, because when a lot of times I struggled with the whole meditation thing and get into the mindfulness part, because just sitting and listening to the meditation music, or whatever the nature thing that's going on, that may work for some. It didn't work for me. I find that when I do better when I have either classical music going, listening to nature things, or sometimes I'll put on a little meditation, something just so I can have it fills the household or whatever space I'm at, and it's something that you could do even at work, because we all have phones and we have YouTube, so all those things are there. But I found that it helps me to focus more when I am busy while I'm listening to something in meditation. Some kind of way works. I don't know how it works for you, but for me, it begins to open something up and it clears everything. And I see things differently. It also energizes the creativity on the inside. You can find new ways to manage stress and anxiety or depression. Now, I don't like to call depression. I like to call it sadness, because it's something that's unregulated. Anxiety is the same thing. Sometimes it's stemmed by some outer source stimuli, and sometimes it's stemmed from what's going on in your mind. You may be thinking the worst of a situation, and when no actuality, it's not even that way. It can really be the best situation, but depending upon what you're doing or what what it is, all encompassing, it may cause you stress. But you can find ways to relieve your stress. There's all little different techniques. There's stress balls, there's exercises. Someone, my coworker was telling me, Jacinia, thank you, the tapping power, the tap, and that helps to calm you down. And that's good for your stress, anxiety, to help you manage your stress, anxiety, and or depression. Seek support from friends, family. Start therapy. We talked about that, right? Having someone to talk to and hear you out. Sometimes we just need to get it out. Sometimes we're not really looking for some feedback. We just need to get it out. Because when you take the gunky stuff and you put it in the light, it kind of takes it away, right? Journaling is another way to take control, to maintain your good mental health goals. Gain a sense of self-awareness, with a lot of what we talk about, right? Self-awareness, knowing who we are. Practice ways to better control your emotions. And that can be a struggle in itself. That's where self-awareness really comes in at. And I struggle with that presently. So I'm very mindful to pay attention to the situations, pay attention to how I'm feeling. Make sure that I'm not lashing out unfairly on others, because sometimes I'm unable to regulate my emotions. They come, they go. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm crying, I'm not, I'm angry, I'm not, So I know I can feel it when it's coming on. So my thing is to isolate during that part, to make sure that I'm not putting any junk on anybody else. You can develop a more positive outlook on your life. How do you view your life, right? If you think life sucks, start looking at life being wonderful, because it is wonderful. It's a gift that you receive every day when you wake up in the morning. Just being blessed to open your eyes in the morning is a blessing, and taking that breath. So let's develop a more positive outlook on life. Then you can improve your communication skills. Now, when you're not feeling all that great about yourself, it's hard to communicate how you feel, or if something angers you, or you're not quite sure about a situation. Sometimes something in our own lives will have us lash out at somebody close to us or near us, because it's not going the way we think it's supposed to go. And we'll lash out on them, and that could end up in a whole nother arena of things, and that's a big part of developing relationships. That's why we discussed about groups yesterday, and the different types of groups that you have, because what we had to determine what makes a group, right? So that's individuals coming together for a common cause, whether it's to be interactive with one another. Either you're coming together for your goals, either you're coming together for a mutual reason that influences each other. We went over all that yesterday. So it's very important, and it's going to play a role in your relationship development. We said it. You want to let go of the anger. I know. It's hard sometimes, but you have to set it free, because if you don't, it's only hurting you. Because whoever you're angry at, they probably don't even know you're mad at them, first of all. One, and then two, they probably don't even care. So why are you still caring? Get over it. And I know that it's easier said than done, but these are steps that you can take to begin working on that, to better improve your emotional wellness. Being more laser focused on what it is that you want. What is the outcome that you want for your life? And how are you going to get it? By making sure that your mental and your health is all together. That is at least together as much as you can, right? There are times when you will explode. And we all have it. That just means you're human. And sometimes enough is just enough. So you want to build stronger, more meaningful relationships with those that you allow in your life or that you already have in your life. You want to learn how to set boundaries. You cannot say yes to everything. Some things you have to say no. It's okay to say no and not feel guilty. I'm learning that. Anybody else learning how to say no and not feel guilty about it? Yeah, that was a long, hard struggle for me. I was a yes girl for a very, very long time. And I think it was part of my upbringing of the respect for the adults in my life. I really have a high respect for those that I would call elders, those that are, like, I'd say, authoritative figures. There's a thin line sometimes in between that, but there's still that level that you know that you have to carry yourself a certain way in that manner. So you want to make sure that you learn how to set boundaries, clear boundaries. You want to become more aware of your feelings. No, pay attention to what you're feeling. Start asking yourself, well, why am I feeling this way? Where did this come from? Like, and if you know where it came from, how are you going to work through that feeling? Take a walk, do yoga, listen to music, something. And if you guys have tips that I haven't given out yet, feel free to drop them in the comments, because we're all here to learn. That's one thing. We're here to learn, and no one person or no one way is the right way. There is no wrong or right. We're just trying to navigate through life, because this life comes with no instructions. You live it the best of your ability, and you learn as you're going. I share with you that my grandmother always told me every day you should learn something new. And Lord, I'm grateful that she told me that, because I do learn something new every day. Practice gratitude. That's very, very important, because as you practice gratitude, being grateful for waking up in the morning, grateful that you have sight, grateful that you can smell, that you can speak, that you can hear, that you have hands, that you can move your body, or whatever state you're in, just being grateful for the day that you have life, just grateful for life. You don't really have to name anything. You could just be grateful, show gratitude for the life that you have. And you will see that life will become better. Now, for us, sometimes with the emotional wellness, some of us will isolate. We don't tend to really get into it. Some people are people, and some people are not. Some of us are people for a little bit. We could do you for a little bit, but then sometimes that becomes overstimulating. It becomes overwhelming, and then we need to go and recharge our batteries by ourselves. But then we can always come back to the group. But sometimes being in a group can be overstimulating. So that quiet time, being alone, is great, but just knowing how to balance the two. So you want to develop skills for when you're interacting socially. And how do we develop social wellness skills? We have to develop assertiveness skills. You have to know how to say what you say and mean what you say. It doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful. It doesn't mean you have to be rude. You're just being stern and assertive by stating what it is that you need and want, and how you would like things to go. Okay. What's this one? Balance social and personal time. You know, how much are you getting? Too much social time and not enough personal time, or are you having too much personal time and not enough social time? You have to figure out what the balance is for you. Gain the ability to be who you are in all situations, no matter where you are, home, the office, out in the community. Show people who you are. Show them the true you. You're an amazing being. Don't hide that. Don't cover it up. Just be happy in the skin that you're in. And sometimes over life, you just learn to get thick skin. And after a while, you don't care what other people think about you because you love you. You're practicing the steps of self-love, self-compassion. You're setting your boundaries. You're doing all these things. And overall, it's going to build your confidence. And you're going to begin to love yourself. And you're going to begin to see your life change. Become engaged with other people in your community. Value diversity. And treat others with respect. So there are a few tips for your emotional wellness. It's so important because it's such a vital key part. And sometimes, excuse me, guys, I just want to try to clear my board here so I can write some more things down for us. Emotional wellness is something that should be taken seriously. Life isn't always easy, and you're going to experience failure. You're going to experience rejection. You're going to experience losses. And what else did I put? Failure, losses, defeat, all that stuff right there. I done forgot already what I done wrote. But yeah, it's a journey. It's one hell of a journey. And how do you make it through all of that and still be able to focus on your economic growth? If you start out in one arena of earning income, how do you build yourself and get to the other side? Go from just earning income to creating wealth. And we talked about all the different ways that you can create income, but we understand that now that just creating income alone is not enough. You have to generate income, but you also need to be generating wealth, right? Look like I'm seesawing here. And what are the ways that we do it? There's various ways. One thing for sure is you want to know where you stand. You want to know where you are financially. So my question is to you, how do I do this? Let me think about this. All right, let's see. Just gonna pick a number. We'll do it like that. No, that's not it. That's not what I want. We're gonna leave it at the top. We'll leave it at the 2050K, 25K, right? We'll leave it there. Get that out of the way. Now, because I often ask from time to time, right? Exactly, do you know exactly how much you would like to earn to take care of all of your needs? What's that number for you? And we're going to just put 250K up there, right? Now, we know that it's going to be a journey to get there. And how do we do it? You can do it on your own, right? But it's going to take you a long time to do it on your own. You're going to have to really be savvy about that. But there's ways to do it. There's income, the source of income, right? And that's wages and salaries. Then we talked about liquid, right? Income. Talked about property. We talked about royalties. What am I missing? Stocks, funds. And I'm sure I'm missing something because I'm all new to this and I'm learning it as I'm going. But as I'm learning, I'm implementing. And it's very interesting to see because the Dow Jones, right? That's what lets us know how the economy is going in the world, right? And sometimes it's high, but right now it's kind of like down here. You're probably seeing more minus signs than you are seeing plus signs. And I've learned over time that just because you see the minus sign, don't take off running. You can't, you'll never get where you're going if you're afraid to take a risk. But you want to take calculated risks. You want to educate yourself in that area so that you can learn how to begin generating wealth. You can begin starting a family bank. And what does a family bank consist of? We have to talk to Miss Nicola Jackson Smith to learn those values, right? We have to learn those secrets. I share her with you guys on my page, the Pink Millionaire. She talks about building your family bank. She talks about having other revenue sources of income. But the main thing she talks about is getting financially educated on your finances, right? Putting yourself in position. Because if you have, just imagine, if you do have, let me take this. If you do have 250K, say you got it. But then you've got you got your regular bills. Sorry, guys. Sorry for my back. You have what? Bills. You got your regular bills. Try that out. Got your regular bills. Because they come monthly. They don't stop. You can pay those, but then what if you have debt? What if you have let me see, debt? Yeah, that's because I don't want to go into the other part. I was moving too fast. Sometimes my brain goes a little faster than I want it to. So with 250K, you have bills coming every month. You would say that this is enough for you to do what you need to do, right? But not if you have debt. Because the moment that you receive this, say you won it in the lottery, or say you got blessed and someone in the family left you that. But are you prepared for it? Are you prepared for it? How would you break it down? How much of that would you spend? How much of that would you save? And how much of that would you invest? These are all questions. And feel free to write them down. How you would break the 250K down. But then you would have to know your amount of debt that you owe, because your debt could impact that 250K, and that 250K could end up being that in all actuality. It's happened. You know, people have lawsuits and whatnot, and they're all excited, right? Everybody gets all excited when they got a suit or a case or something like that. They're thinking about the money. But if you're just thinking about the money and you have debt, and you're looking at the outcome, whatever it may be, if you don't take care of that debt, you're not going to get the full amount of what you think you're supposed to get, because the debt is going to be collected. They're coming for it. It's going to come out first. And then you'll be disappointed. And we don't want you to be disappointed. We want you to be prepared. We want you to know what it is that what your aim is, what you're going for. The reality is that once you make a definite decision that you are going to become a better person, and you're going to begin taking the steps to make your life better, you're going to identify what those steps are, and you're going to start taking those steps. You may have to write this all down at first before you start taking any action steps. It may take you a couple of weeks to sit down and really draft out your life on paper. Because you look at the life that you have right now in front of you. You know everything that you have in front of you. You know what your life is. You know what your worth is. I hope you know what your net worth is. How many of us know what our net worth is? And if you don't, you need to find out, right? Okay. Then once you know where you stand financially, and that's with your monthly bills, your what it costs to sustain you, just the basics. We're not even getting to the wants yet. We're at the basics. Roof over your head, clothes on your back, food in your stomach, transportation to and fro to get to your employer. And if you have children, whatever needs is going to have to go through that. We went through the whole budget thing. And if you need to revisit it again, you can find it on a live on Facebook and gain financial literacy and love what you do. I'm not sure if I plastered it somewhere else. Once you figure out where you are right there, right, and you know what your net worth is, what your net worth value is right now, presently, currently, then you want to sit down and you want to start mapping out where it is that you want to go, where you want to be. Shoot, anything, good thing. Hold on. Oh, this girl. Hot mess, hot mess. Crazy. But anyway, you want to start mapping out where you want to go, right? You want to start figuring it out. What it is. Hold on. Take this here for 1 minute. Slide this on. That way I'm not writing on wet stuff. You want to map it out. You want to begin to look at how much do you need to earn extra every month that will put you in a zone where you can live comfortable. We're not even going for the extravagant. We're going to say just live comfortable. And it's so funny because when I did the exercise the first time, I did not think and or dream big enough because I was in a lower percentage. So as you begin to think bigger, don't think too small. Don't deprive yourself. Really think about what it is that you need that would put you in a comfort zone to where you can pay all your bills, take care of your family, spend some, save some, and invest some. How much do you think you would need extra? Because through our income, how many ways do you get paid? One way, right? One, probably two. Two. That's if you're a union job or whatever, if you take a position or you enlist for a position and practice and train for that as well. You might earn just a couple extra dollars. Not a lot. You're not going to get rich. So don't try to get rich, but you earn a couple extra dollars in your income. But we discovered that income alone is not going to take care of it. So what if you had an opportunity, shoot, first of all, can I spell? Oh, yeah. That offered you, let's say, 7 ways that you can earn income. Would that interest you? Would you have time to investigate and kind of do a little bit of research to find out what are the 7 ways to earn extra income for your household? Would that help? Because you already have the one income, but we see that the one income doesn't always hold down a family, and this has been proven over time. This is something that you can go back and research and look at economics, and that's why we have the advantage and the disadvantage. Now they call them the haves and the have-nots. So what is the haves doing that the have-nots are not doing? Are you curious? Would you want to know? The most part is, would you be willing to commit yourself to figure it out and do what it do to get there? That's everybody's personal choice. It's just a question I like to ask, because as a parent raising children, we're always looking to, make some little extra money. Many of us have little side hustles that we do right from our home already, whether it's braiding hair, doing hair, baking, preparing meals for someone, going and cleaning someone's home. There's all different ways to make money. You can come up with an idea, look around in your community, see what is it that your community needs? What is a service that you could come up with that you could provide your community members and charge them a fee to do it, and begin doing that? Now, not only are you earning income, you're also helping beautify and build up your community. There's all different kind of ways to do it, but you want to do it in the best way possible. You want to make sure that it's legal. You want to make sure that it's safe, and you want to know that it is a sound business that others have done and have done it successfully, and they have the record and track record to show you that. So tomorrow, I believe we will begin talking about income. And I thought to myself, as we're closing out tonight, I said, wow, I just came off a 90-day run. And then the excitement of the new year, starting new, fresh opportunity to grow some more, to experience things that I haven't experienced before. A lot of it involves training and learning, because I told you start out as a student first. And even don't think that you're going to go to the first class and be like, oh yeah, I got this. No. That's why, even when you go to college, you got the whole year, you got a whole semester. You got 12 months to learn whatever it is that whatever you're majoring in. And even then, if you don't apply what you're learning into your everyday life and start practicing it, you will lose it. You will not see the connection. So I'm a hands-on learner. I'm one that's got to be all up in it. So that's how I learn. How do you learn? As we're talking about building sustainable families, building our economics, we looked at our history. We see what we need to do to begin to start moving forward. And your emotional well-being, your self-image, what you think of yourself is going to be that driving factor. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me to come and speak with you about emotional wellness, the best of my ability, and share some of my personal life with you. As, hey, life on life terms, we got to live it. Things happen and you got to keep moving on. And sometimes, even though you're just moving on, you have to be intentional and be aware of how you're feeling, what you're going. Staying busy keeps everything flowing. It doesn't give me time to feel. It doesn't mean that I don't feel things, because I do. But it keeps me focused and it keeps me busy. And I appreciate you all for allowing me to come and share my little bit of knowledge with you all. Tomorrow evening, I will be doing an overview of the financial literacy services. So if you are interested in learning about a dynamic company that has a dynamic reputation for helping individuals like myself to take control of their financial life, make sure you tune in tomorrow, guys. And that's what we're going to talk about. And if you want to sign up or you want to learn more, please reach out to me, DM me, text me, what's up at me. It's all different kind of ways to get at me. But please allow me time to get back to you, because I'm one person and I do a lot, not making an excuse. I'm just telling you the truth. And I'm kind of scattered all over the place, as you see. What you see is what you get. I tell you that all the time, right? So with that being said, I want to wish you all a wonderful, blessed, thankful Thursday evening. I am thankful for you all. I'm thankful to be here on this platform. I'm thankful for what life has brought us all, how life has brought us all together. Everybody have a wonderful, blessed, amazing evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Oh yeah, join me tomorrow morning, about 8:30ish, for between 8:30, somewhere around there, for Tammy's.shop. We always have some motivation stuff going on in the morning. So we're gonna say goodbye to, oh no. Cancel that. I'm messing up. Hold on. We're going to say goodbye to Facebook, because I need to slow down. Bye, Facebook. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope this was helpful. Hope you got some good tips. All right. Say bye-bye to them. Now we're going to say goodbye, YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope this was helpful.